All right, so in this video, we want to find the equation of this polynomial function over here in factored form. So generally speaking, when we get an equation like this, we always start with y equals to a, and then we look at our x-intercept. So if I have an x-intercept of -3, it's x plus 3. Then -1 means I have x plus 1. And +2 means I have x minus 2. Then typically after that, we would sub in any other point and solve for a. But this question is actually more difficult because if we look closely at this question, you'll notice that the graph is smooth over here, but over here the graph is cubic. And since the graph is cubic over here, it means that this equation is not a third degree equation. It's actually a fifth degree equation, because if the graph went perfectly smooth, then it would be third degree, but any kind of change over here, like a cubic or any kind of more turning points, will increase the degree of the graph. So this is actually a fifth degree equation, and we have to add the extra fifth degree over here, and that's going to be a quadratic equation, which basically cannot be factored. So we'll represent it by x squared plus bx plus c. And remember, when we get to the final equation, this equation here cannot be factored. That's why we don't have 5 x-intercepts, we only have 3. Okay, now once we have this basic equation down, we're going to sub in all 3 of our points into this equation, and we're going to solve that using substitution. So let's start by subbing in the first point here, -2 and -40. So -40 equals to a. X value is -2, so -2 plus 3, -2 plus 1, -2 minus 2, then -2 squared minus 2b plus c. I'll simplify this equation a bit. So I'll start with the brackets. That's +1, -1, -4, +4 minus 2b plus c. And I'll multiply these numbers in the front. So -40 equals, actually it's just +4a, 4 minus 2b plus c. Then I can simplify a bit more by just dividing by 4 on both sides. So -10 equals to a, 4 minus 2b plus c. That's as much as I can simplify this. So I'm just going to highlight this equation and call it equation number 1. Let's do the same with the second point, the y-intercept over here, which is 12. I'm going to sub it into this equation again. So 12 equals to a. 0 plus 3 is just 3. 0 plus 1 is 1. 0 minus 2 is -2. And then this is going to be 0, 0, and then I just have a c. Can multiply all of these again to simplify. So this is -6 AC. I'll divide by -6 to make my life a bit easier. So this is -2 equals AC. And this is my equation number 2. I'll sub in the third and final point, 1, 8 into this equation. So 8 equals to a, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 1, 1 minus 2, 1 squared is 1, plus b plus c. I'll simplify the brackets. 4 to -1, 1 plus b plus c. Multiply the fronts. And then divide by -8. -1 equals a, 1 plus b plus c. This is my third equation. So now I have 3 equations. I have 3 variables I can solve using substitution. I'm going to start by just writing all my equations side by side. It just makes things a lot easier. I have my three equations right there. I'll start by isolating in this equation. I'll just isolate C because then I can substitute C's in the bracket. I think that might be easier, not 100% sure. But I'll isolate C. And now I'll substitute C into this equation right over here. I'll replace the C with -2 over A. And I'll do the same in this equation over here. Technically, I can't really simplify this too much. -1 equals to A, 1 plus B minus 2 over A. So now I have two equations and two variables. I can solve these two using substitution. I'll start by dividing the A on the other side to simplify for both of them. Then I'll move this term to the other side so I can combine like terms. These have the same denominator, so I can combine them, just combine the numerators and write the same common denominator. Now I have two really simplified equations. I want to solve this with substitution. B is the easiest variable to isolate here, so I'm just going to isolate B. Oops. 1 over A minus 1 equals to B. And now I'll substitute this into this equation here. I'll replace my B with 1 over A minus 1. And now I can solve this equation for my A. I'll start by multiplying the -2 into the bracket. Combine these two like terms, and I'll also move this to the other side. These have a common denominator. Now multiply A on the other side, and then divide both sides by 6. So I'll get -1 equals to A. Once I get my A value, I'll come back here and substitute to find my B value. So 1 over -1 minus 1 equals to B. That's just -1 minus 1 equals to B. So -2 equals to B. And then I'll come back here and substitute the A value for my C. So A is -1, so -2 over -1 equals to C. So C just equals to 2. And now I can just rewrite my original equation with my values of A, B, and C. I'll grab another paper because I don't have space here. On this one, my final equation is y equals to negative, A is -1, x plus 3, x plus 1, x minus 2. And then I have x squared. My b is -2, so minus 2x. And my c is +2. So this is the final equation for the graph given in the question.